Hi everyone, it's Vashali from the Caragena podcast, and here I am today with Carlana Stone, who's an entrepreneur and activist.
I am so excited to be sitting here with you. How awesome is this to like reconnect, right?
Yeah,
Taking it
definitely.
off the Zoom and into real life. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah, nestled
yeah,
in these beautiful mountains.
definitely.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
Hi.
yeah. So, Carlana, what specific goals and aspirations drive the service work you engage in?
I think, it's so fundamentally based on my experience as a young teenager, mostly. Um, the sense of belonging. Uh, is paramount, I believe, in our personal development. And so, I've had a series of events in my life. Some that I've been at the wheel of the car, behind the wheel of a car driving. There was when I was 15 and resulted in hurting a lot of people. And um, subsequent to that was when I was in a car accident that paralyzed me. And there was a whole, oh my God, how's anybody going to love me now? How's anybody going to love me like this? I'm broken. Oh my God, I hurt all these people. And, oh my God, I'm hurt, and it's like, we start dialing past the physical and we connect to parts of ourselves that are just like everybody else, but none of us talk about it kind of thing. And so that's something that drives me in
Mm,
my life is to figure out where I connect with other people and where
yeah,
I feel a sense of belonging, where I can help promote a sense of belonging. And um, I think that's where we start, you know? And so that's really what I'm excited about. We've got some tools. Um, what we're doing right now, storytelling, sharing our stories. This exchange unearths likenesses and similarities that nobody on the earth would ever imagine. And we recognize each other's humanity and we're inspired by each other's. Oh my gosh, I would have never taken that approach. Are you kidding me? What you did? What? And oh my God, it's like all the serendipity that we discover when we don't have a locked in plan and agenda, but a little bit of a direction helps.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I'd say a sense of belonging is the through line and promoting a place where we all belong, regardless of our physical or cognitive ability or our, emotional abilities.
Wonderful. Yeah. Could you share a deeply personal or impactful story that inspired you to achieve all this?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm 56 years old. And I've just had a life blessed beyond measure, but I was born into a home where my mom and daddy, head and heart, they were always connected. They still are. Yesterday was their 64th wedding
Oh
anniversary.
my God.
Sissy and David Stone. I mean, still just, oh my God, still
Happy
loving each
anniversary
other
to
and
them.
loving up the world. I know, right? So that's what really drives me is paying homage to my mom and daddy, recognizing um, their their impact. It's to reflect upon my life. It's something I always took for granted. My mom and daddy always had this safe place. I mean, my living room was filled with teenagers on guitars and all kinds of instruments and singing songs. And mom's in the kitchen and daddy's leading the group in front of the fireplace. I mean, it's like, everything was always happy and loving and everybody felt like they belonged. All my friends would come. They sought out my mom and daddy because it's where they felt at home.
Hmm.
And so home is something that transcends any kind of physical. I mean, it feels like home here
Yeah,
because I was just telling my mom and daddy over on the phone this morning. It feels like home.
yeah,
And
definitely.
but the power of that, it's like it's something that's I've always felt connected, and there's never been any fear of losing my mama or daddy. Um, there's just um, the connectivity aspect, feeling a sense of, connection is just vital for me, and feeling like you belong. Um, there, um, there was a very there was a moment that kind of all this stuff came in,
Yeah.
that was when I was 16. I wrote about it in my first book.
Hmm.
Um, and it was the first time I left rehab after I was paralyzed in a car accident. I was paralyzed when I was 16 years old in a car accident. There was an accident before that one. The one when I was 16 got all the attention, right? Because I went from gymnast and cheerleader to paraplegic, and this, girl who shook her rear end to get attention, and, you could bounce a quarter off. It was like, my entire identity was called into question. And all of a sudden, that's where all the focus went. And, I had to break out of that metaphorical page, that identity of, oh my God, you know, um, I want to backtrack though, because the story that started in this book was an editor's, cutting out a really critical part of the story that I never even gave reference to, that I never even gave thought to until recently, in the last couple of years, when I've really just kind of been reflecting and reimagining what and so I was driving when I was 15. It was my first night to drive out, and I had 5 of the girls in the car with me. And uh I we were on our way to a party out in the field somewhere, and I was I was driving. Literally, we got our licenses when we were 15.
Oh, wow.
And I nicked a barrel that was in the middle of the road. They had construction. We were on our way out to the thing, and I don't remember any of this accident. I never have. But we were all we hit somebody head on. I hit somebody head on. Drove. When the barrel, we nicked the barrel. I guess I lost control of the car or something, and then we went into the other lane or whatever. Um, and several of us were injured, and um, and stayed in the hospital for quite some time. One of the girls actually lost consciousness, and and had to. She came back, so she didn't have any. I got all banged up, right? I broke my foot, my femur, my shoulder, my jaw, my nose. I got a Teflon plate here, in my face, but I mean, you could see all my stuff, and that's again where everybody qualified those who've been impacted, right? That wheelchair gave me credence after the second one, right? Oh, I went from A to B, from cheerleader, gymnast to paraplegic. And it's like, but so going back to that accident, I had all this physical proof, that I was injured. But for instance, Lori, the girl that was injured, um, you couldn't see her injury because she lost consciousness, but then she came back. But I, I, I carried a lot of guilt and shame and pain. Actually, that manifested itself in physical pain. That's what our brains can do. They can.
Emotions get stored deep inside.
Yes, yeah. Memories, yep, are stored in 3D.
Helps and haunts us during the night sometimes.
Yeah, it's something that resulted in me feeling less than. There were, when I look at, I'm sorry for jumping all over the place, but where I started to go about the story I referenced in the book is, my first time out after I was paralyzed, and the second car accident. I was a passenger in the back seat. And, but that one got everybody's attention because it was so like, oh, she went from standing up and, flexing her muscles to sitting in a wheelchair, not. And so there was this whole thing with me with, I was in rehab for like 3 months where you're learning everything to about living again. You're learning how to transfer in and out of bed. I'm wearing a turtle shell. They come and fit me for this polypropylene brace is going to hold my back because I broke my back in the second one. And so I've got this turtle shell and I'm having to learn how to transfer in and out, with bed and into the wheelchair. And I'm just like, these people don't know what they're dealing with. The doctor's like, you're never going to walk again. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know who you're dealing with. And 3 months later, I go out for the first time in public with my family that doesn't do anything quietly at all. So we go out with big fanfare. Daddy drives into the middle of the valet and opens all 4 doors and I got a wheelchair in the trunk. It's like, oh God, please don't call any more attention to this. Got this big old clunker in the back, and my cousin's singing, "Oh, left a good job," and she took the brake off. It was just crazy. Anyway, we're sitting there in the valet, and I'm in the car, and everybody else has gotten out. Daddy went to go get the wheelchair and pulls it up to the door, and I've got this board that I've got to put between me and the wheelchair. I'm gonna inch across this board, and I can see this woman. I'm my 1 o'clock. I'm just right there, standing behind the valet, and I'm like, "Don't look up, Carlana. Don't look up. Don't look up." And I'm like inching across this board, and I can feel people lining up behind her. I can see them in my peripheral. And meanwhile, back over here, we've blocked the entire 3 lanes of the valet.
Oh,
So, so it's like, spotlight, and it's the first time in my life. Anyway, I'm on that board inching across, and I looked up at that woman, and it was horrific because for the first time I saw somebody feeling sorry for me. I had engendered a look of pity. I was used to, thunderous applause at the, when I dismount from the balance beam, and honor that. I mean, it's like, oh my God. So this was a real, it was a paralyzing moment for me. And it burned an image in my mind and my memory. And I felt this, oh, bless your heart, poor thing. And I was like, no, I don't feel that way. No, and I fought against that. But it was that moment where I was like, all right, this, I felt like, I didn't belong. And, and it was as I think about it right now, it was a reverberation of what I had felt from the first accident. When I, there was, because I was the driver of the car, there were just some people who shunned me, who, went to all girls Catholic high school. And yeah, it was a lot of society. Yeah. And same with the second one, but the second one, I wasn't the perpetrator, and the second one, I was the victim. And, but for me, they were equally as difficult to, sit with. And so I ran. So not like Forrest Gump, but run, Carlana, run. No, but I immediately decided that I'm going to show other people. My daddy always said, don't tell them what you're going to do, show them what you're going to do. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Hey, everybody, this wheelchair doesn't define me. Watch this. Yeah, old redneck. Watch this. Yeah. And, so I started discovering possibilities. My parents took me and my family. We used to go skiing snow skiing every year. We went snow skiing in Breckenridge, and I dated a hot guy there. My sisters were all jealous too. My dad had to go out looking for us anyway. But my parents always gave me access to that challenged me, but not shamed me. Invited me to challenge myself and to embrace this, and do what you will with it. But it didn't come with expectations attached to any kind of thing. They had hope, and but they never shamed me. For the times that I've failed miserably at things that I've tried, which I've done a lot of. But we discover what we're made of in moments like that, where we fail. My daddy always says, if you don't, you don't lose as long as you don't lose a lesson. As long as you don't lose a lesson, you don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. And so my life has been a series of me learning lessons because I keep messing up. But I learned to knock down all those physical barriers around me. I went off to Boulder, Colorado, and I met people there who had never known me before. They just met this girl in a wheelchair in the dorm, and they loved me anyway. We had margarita parties in my room, and they invited me over, and it was like they let me be one of them, and they welcomed me, and it was like, whoa, wait a minute, and it taught me the ability of others to see with their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And my own ability, to see with my heart, and the challenges in our lives, I do believe, in my experience anyway, has been, it's those moments that we break that crack something open. And for me, it was like, oh, yeah, okay, well, this is cool. And just trying to embrace that problem solver of, that's just so, I'm a country girl, I was raised out in the country. My mama ran Labrador retrievers, growing up. And so she was always training. I traveled with my daddy, doing serendipity workshops, going and training youth directors and coming together and playing music and sharing our stories and getting real with one another and going, oh, you too? Oh, well, so I realized that if I just start telling my story, people are going to, we connect, and our stories are really totally different. But there's so much, the experiences really result in the same emotions and feelings. And, I just discovered along the way that I was the driver, and that it was up to me to be the first. To be the first to say hello, to be the first to be insecure and vulnerable and tell them what I'm feeling, and be real. And people come along, people meet you there.
Mm-hmm.
People are dying for us to share our stories so that they have somebody to share their experience with.
Like being the first person to just go up to someone and say hi, that takes a lot of guts. And especially like with teenagers that, as you mentioned, like identity crisis.
Yeah.
Every teenager goes through this. Every, like, maybe kids, or maybe like, I guess younger kids are more prone, like not really prone, but they're like, everyone, like, they don't really care about identities and appearances. And then once they enter like middle school, high school, it's all the weird symptoms.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? There's something that switches. Yeah.
And then especially like, I know there's always disabilities, but there's also sometimes people cry over grades. And, there's been so many like depression and anxiety cases and societal like cases too, just because of, maybe feeling forced or something. And due to like parenting styles as well. So I'd say like, this is an issue that affects people worldwide, and especially like overcoming this like, I guess, societal like talk, like how society treats, gossip and everything. Like they're like discussing our lives, and it's like, we're not you, right? We're totally different.
Well, I think we live, I'm glad you brought that, because I think we live in our wisdom, our view on life only comes from experience, what we've seen, what we've felt, what we've experienced, and you can't manufacture that. It's that goes back to that making that memory. We better make it a happy one, right? Because when there are moments that can paralyze us, that are yeah, but what I was going to say about the pointing the finger, I think that we all do that as humans. We want to point to something outside of ourselves that's responsible for the way that we're feeling, or for the way we did on the test, or the fact that we didn't do this right or do that right. And well, if this had been different and that had been different, well, you know what?
Yeah.
This is the way it is, and we got to just deal with it. And so that's
destiny. It's fate.
Well, it's there's that, but I think it's a more rudimentary approach to just, you know what? Look, you could say, "Oh my God, if I hadn't done this, this wouldn't have happened." My daddy always says, "Wherever you go, there you are."
Yeah.
And
There's no reason to think about the past.
we have right. The present moment is unavoidable, right? And she's a Robinson Gar. Yeah, I do know my keys. So don't ask me to mention them all at the same time, because I'll miss one. But don't be a football of other people's opinions.
Exactly. Yeah.
All of these things really, really, really resonate. But the thing is like, I think the more we focus on the world outside, the more we lose touch with ourselves. Because it all of this is just a reflection of what's happening in here, right? And and I think that our unwillingness to, well, I can only speak of that which I have experienced and my experience. I try to speak in the ubiquitous we and all that kind of stuff. It's like that's I'm talking about me and what I've experienced, and is that I've just in my quest to belong, to break free of the restraints of a paralyzing accident. I had to connect with parts of myself that don't change. And this breath work has been fundamental in helping me attach to that and connect and stay here. And it's a feeling that I've been chasing my whole life, because I've been so busy focusing on the obstacles out here. Okay, well, you know what? That Harley, we're going to rip off that, we're going to get a trike, and we're going to rip off the tour pack, and, and put something where we can rig up my chair and put it on there. And my husband, rigged up helped design a hand control and a rear brake cylinder that they brought to the front, and the whole Harley Davidson community in Glendale, California came together to help me realize this dream of riding a Harley, so my 40th birthday. So, I've had all these awesome opportunities to figure it out, and help from people helping me figure it out. And it's been the joy in that discovery of like, oh, I can't walk, but I can fly, and realizing that that's pretty cool. But I never thought of it because I couldn't keep my feet on the ground. I had to find a way to fly, because for me, it was like it was going to defy everything that this chair represented. I was broken, and I was, less than. I just, and I always felt that way, like even in school, because I had to, I'm amidst all you brilliant people. Just in our Sky leadership alone. Whoa, all your, it's like, oh my gosh, how did I end up with all these people? Because it's like, I barely got a 2.0 getting out of high school or college. It's like, by the time I got to Berkeley, I can't believe we oh my gosh. There's just so, when we talk about things that we have in common, when we just open up and begin sharing, it's like, oh my gosh, it's crazy supersonic serendipity.
Yeah, definitely.
Where we go. What?
Yeah.
Wait, okay, Sky Leadership. What? You see Berkeley? What? Podcast? What? Oh my God. What? Software? What? Oh my gosh. Alzheimer's, dementia,
Yeah.
cognitive, the regenerative properties of the neurophysiological system that we call the human body. And the things that we discover in that space. I mean, it's just so much.
Yeah.
It's so much.
Yeah.
But I digress. So, yeah, I think really blasting through those obstacles, those physical barriers, and connecting to something so much deeper. That's where we're connected. We are all interconnected. We are all part of one.
Mhm.
And we're just covered up by all these other narratives that we're, packing on ourselves, all those
Yeah.
different
I
layers.
think how she also says, removing the labels that we put on ourselves.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's like a big part of, stepping out of this, I guess, zone that we kind of confine ourselves into. And once we're out, we're always like, I belong to each
Yeah.
you. I belong to
Oh.
you. And like, I belong to like kind of like the entire community, right?
Yes. It's so funny. That was one of the first things that really touched me when I learned the happiness program. Well, actually, it was Project Welcome Home Trips. It was my first introduction to it. I got to interview all these guys who had been through, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, who had been through the Project Welcome Home Trips, and hear their stories. And I'm like, whoa, and it's like, they're really like,
Yeah.
it was so incredibly transformational, transcendental
Yeah.
to their journeys, and so the but the first time I heard, we broke out into small groups, and we had conversations, and one of our things was that we had to say, I belong to you.
Mhm.
I can't remember which the first time I heard it, but it was like, I remember what I felt the first time I heard it. And I was like, oh, finally, oh my God, I belong to you. And I just started screaming from the rafters. A friend of mine, I said it to a friend of mine that I've known since childhood. He's like, I'm like, I belong to you. And he's like, oh, girl, he goes, that's just weird. Don't say that. That's just
Wow.
weird. But because words are weird to people sometimes,
Yeah.
But it's something that
deep,
is
though.
it's so deep. No, but see, that's the thing is like, that weird. I'm weird, because I've got this. I look different. I am different. I think differently. I act differently than everybody else. But I'm learning to embrace that as, oh, well, that's my unique way of doing things. And it's like, I'm not less than, I actually belong here. And if that's, there's a neuroscience to, I belong to you. When you really say it to somebody in the way that we exchange that phrase with one another, it was so intimate and so piercing past all the stuff you can see, and it got something so deep where we connected. It was like, I just imagine like, it's like an umbilical cord, connecting to somebody else, because it is like, it's something you share in this moment that brings you. Everything else goes away.
The energy just welcomes you.
It does, it helps us discover one another's humanity, and it's a bridge to our own humanity, and learning. But and
It's a
and
way
it just,
for us to come together amidst all the chaos that's happening in the world.
yeah. Well, it's where we connect to parts of us that don't change, and the fact that this is something we share with all humankind, and some of us are so covered up in it that it's hard to reach through,
Yeah.
but when we do, it's amazing what happens in its wake. And this is a living testament. This is living proof of the power of love and the power of connectivity and shared experiences. It was the shared experiences through the art of living that saved me. I literally learned to breathe a couple of days before COVID shut down.
Oh,
Cut everything, right?
yeah.
And I had this tool that I had 40 days that I'd committed to,
Oh, nice.
that I got to log on every day for 40 days. And I mean, 2 days afterwards, we're in lockdown. And, I was living with a guy, a dear friend of mine, but he was my boy. We were dating at the time. We've known each other our whole lives.
Oh,
But, things were just not great between us. And it was an unhealthy, vibe in the house. You know what I mean? And I was a big part of that, and we both were. But I had this tool that helped me stay connected to other people. And I give him my word, okay, every day I'm going to show up and do this, thing for 40 days. And over those 40 days, we got to know each other. We shared without him saying a word. And then I went on my deep dive into, art of living, and, all the VTPs and the silence courses and oh my gosh, it's like the Sky Leadership where we came together. I mean, it was like every single one of them was its own experience, but I just kept connecting with these people. I'm like, where have y'all been all my life? Oh my gosh, I know you. I belong to you. You belong to me. It's like, oh my God, this is really cool. And it's like, it was like this discovery that you have to share with the world, and it was saving me. And it I got to witness myself changing that anger that I felt, because like I said, it was a volatile, really, it was a relationship, because it was a relationship where I could not hide, because he's known me since, we've known each other since junior high kind of thing. And I'd been in LA for however many years and moved back to, was moving back down south and landed in Austin. And, we lived together for, almost 6 years, but it was like there was a lot of anger and resentment and, stuff that came up because I didn't value myself when I got into the relationship. And this tool, meaning breathing, learning how to breathe, learning how to engage and connect with parts of myself that don't change, and the keys to happiness. I mean, the wisdom, I'm so grateful that somebody stopped to share, because this wisdom is life changing, and it's for me it was like finding home, and that's when home became this thing that can mobilize. It doesn't matter where you go, there you are.
yeah.
And it gave me the opportunity the ability to sit with myself, and learning how to do that, it helped me break down all of the negative stuff that I had been telling myself. It was like she says, became this mental floss. That daily ritual of doing that, you weed away all these things that we hold on to that make us feel sad, make us feel heavy and deep and angry or whatever. And you once you get there, it's like you become the observer of your own life.
Yeah.
And you get ahead of the problem.
Yeah.
You feel yourself getting angry. Okay, I would feel myself getting, angry. And before I would say anything that would make it worse, I was able to go, oh, I was able to intervene. And I was like, whoa, okay, well, that's cool. That could have gotten out of him. I'm so glad it didn't. And it's like this weight was just released,
Yeah.
And it was,
Can embrace
I
yourself.
say weight because it was something that it was inside, it wasn't on my shoulders. It wasn't somebody leaning on me. It was a weight I was carrying. It was the guilt and the shame that had taken on its own life form, and it had really permeated a lot of my stuff that I had compartmentalized and never really gone back to address. I just avoided it. But I carried it, and it came out in moments like that. And when I was, in a relationship, because he didn't, I didn't feel valued. Well, I didn't value myself getting into the relationship. So, of course, it's going to take on those characteristics. So I became the boss of my life because of this breath. And I'm practicing each and every day to because it's oh my gosh, it is like literally the happiness project. I mean, it's like you can't help but be happy.
Yeah.
And there's like no mountain you can't climb, and it's just like, oh my gosh, and it's just it's
Yeah, and I think like for me as well, like I got more involved in Sky just due to me dealing with depression and anxiety in my own room.
oh right.
Like, and during COVID, and it's like I had a small group of friends, like 5 friends, and you know, coming out of high school, I've been involved with Sky so much that I've been able to branch out, and it's a wonderful experience.
So you found out about it early on.
Yeah,
And
when I was 13.
Oh, that's through Sky Schools, or like how did you?
Sky Kids.
Sky Kids. Oh my gosh, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just so excited about. When we talk about legacy,
Yeah.
we talk about a tool that can harness what my mama and daddy delivered in that living room and offer that to every man, woman, and child. It begins with breathing. It begins with this beautiful gift that is helping us connect and share our stories. And I mean, that when I think about legacy, that's the living legacy. And that's where the art of living comes together with Sissy and Dave Stone and this beautiful serendipity. It's when you see a way you can make a difference.
Definitely.
And it's like it's happening, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like you want everybody to experience what you do and all that kind of stuff, but it's like I'm learning to let go of I need a lot of work on this, but learning to let go of the doership. There's so much fabulous wisdom in this. Ashtavakra. Such a powerful series. I did that for over a year. Yeah. We
It's a lot.
every Sunday night, we'd watch we did the wisdom series with Shrisha. We'd watch the old recordings, and we'd stop and we'd discuss them. And it's like, oh my gosh, and I'm living this dream of being able to, like share these experiences with people and go, oh, that's exactly, oh my God, you too. Oh, me too. Oh my gosh, and you discover we're so much alike. And it's just a cool thing to find a community that you're not desperate to be a part of. It's just, it gets inside of you.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes you dance a fool and sing to Shri Shri,
Yeah. It's wonderful, especially like during satsangs. It's like people of all races, religions, like a lot of different identities coming together and celebrating, and it's like a world of celebration.
One world.
Yeah.
One world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to be a part of it and to be. I just can't believe that it's all happening, but yes, I can. My daddy, it's all about the impossible dream. Don Quixote and the whole impossible dream. That was part of my childhood. I don't know. My daddy was always, he's this dreamer, the doer, this larger than life, and my mom is this rock of Gibraltar, this silent strength. I mean, it's the head and heart. My dad even wrote a song about head and heart. You want to hear it? I'm gonna sing it for Shri Shri.
Sure.
So I like the way you handle yourself. I like your style of life. I like the way you live each day, trying to be who you are. You got your head together with your heart. Daddy wrote a song about everything, buckle up for safety. I mean, he always said, but that you got your head together with your heart. That was every word of the song, but he would sing it to us. Yeah, so there was always music. There was always song in our steps and song in our hearts. But music, well, the breath makes you a better singer, is what they say. But music and breathing, it's a beautiful conjunction that helps us really transcend barriers, boundaries, borders. It's the universal language. Love is the universal. Music is the universal language, and love is the key, right?
Yeah. It's like, when reflecting on your service work, helping Alzheimer's and dementia patients, and also, with your experiences throughout, like, NASA and everything, what are some of the most formidable challenges you've encountered and how have you dealt with them?
I think the biggest challenge that I face is that it's personal, and I'm in this race to. You see the possibilities and they make sense. You're computing them in your mind and you're going, yep, this means this. And having the familiarity that I do with spinal cord injury, and when there are connections being made inside, and the breath is a big part, is instrumental in helping stay connected and tapping into that vagus nerve and being able to channel energies and all this kind of stuff. And when I think about all of this stuff, and I'm thinking about the application that I asked for my father, who's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but my dad has never taken anything. He's always found a way to yes, always, always. And, it's, he's always found an answer. When I was paralyzed, he scoured the universe to find, my parents did, to find it, but my daddy especially. Yeah. And he found a way to connect and scoured the universe to find a solution for me to walk again, for somebody to fix me. And that meant for us at the time to make me walk again. What it did was it opened up the universality of connection and relationships. And I ended up going to Russia and lived over there for a couple of years and went through surgery and rehab over there. But there was after a couple of years, and I was making great progress. There were neural connections happening. 2.5 years post my injury, my spinal cord injury in 1985. This was in 92. Golly, this was 4.5 years afterwards. I didn't realize it was that long afterwards, but there were connections being made. But there was no paradigm in place in the United States that was going to support that when I went back. So it was either, do I stay in Russia or do I go back? Well, I had to come back and go back to, college and, have a life, have a teenage life and a real life. And so I kind of discarded that because for me, it wasn't important about walking again, because I'd already had this opportunity to connect with people in Boulder who accepted me as I was. And it was like, oh, I've got belonging. I belong here. So that's all I need. Forget the walking. I can do that any day. Maybe it'll come up. I will have a spacesuit or something, So just put me up on the International Space Station. But the opportunity that we have right now, that I have right now, to take all that I've learned and learning, but all the knowledge that I've acquired to this point, I'm going, I can make a difference. And this is making a difference. Watching my dad with Music Men's Minds is a program that I've been involved in through UCLA and Herb Alpert School of Music. There we're working with dementia and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patients. And, they're making connections and they're forming bands, and my dad's actually doing it in person. And, he's been taking his guitar and he's still singing. And, there's something that connects and it goes right to the center brain. And it's like, that's the center brain. Tapping into that space is where we settle in and we engage everything and everyone around us. And we all belong here. And there's it releases good stuff inside of you, makes you feel good. And we make better decisions. Yeah, but the oxytocin, it releases, an endorphin or whatever. I don't know. Sometimes I mess things up. I've done a lot of reading and my sister calls me an historical revisionist. But it does. It makes sense. And so, there are all these evidence-based programs that support music and memory, right? And I'm going, okay, but the breath, the breath, we got to bring the breath in here too. And because it's like, oh my gosh, there's just so much. There's hugs helping you grow strong. My friend Lisa Gibbons, who I produced her show, we talk about 360, the magic of like serendipity and coming back full circle with one another. It's like, Lisa Gibbons has founded a program called Hugs, helping you grow strong, which, helps get ahead of a caregiver crisis with, particularly within the Alzheimer's and dementia space, but also in the other neurodivergent groups, such as stroke, spinal cord injury, Parkinson's, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, anxiety, all these things. And so, oh my gosh, we've got these tools. And so my biggest challenge has been trying to, because I'm just not the Hair Club president, I'm a member too, I'm discovering these things and I'm very early in my journey, but I see a way that we make an impact and that I can help my mom and dad, that I can help and it make a difference. And when I think about honoring them and their legacy, and I'm going, I am the living legacy. And it's oh God, it's it's why I was born, it's I yeah, no, it's when everything comes together and it's just something so much bigger than us, so much bigger than anything, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I see a path to where I can really make a difference. And so I'm just doing everything in my power to just throw myself down and go, my biggest challenge has been the money. It's been having financial freedom. Trying to, I've been blessed beyond measure because I've had to ask for help in this community, which is a big thing for me to ask for help because I've always been so fiercely independent. Learning to ask for help, and receiving it has been a part of me growing in my confidence about the value that I actually bring to this group, and not just the stuff that I'm receiving, because it truly has helped me. It has helped me completely flip the script on the way I see myself, and has transformed the narrative in my own mind that I can point to things that are tangible, that are like right next to me, that are like, this is the realization of a dream for me. It's like something that I imagined in our VTP together, like being able to do something to honor my mom and daddy, and to be able to go, we could create spaces. Yes, well, the stay in connection.
Yeah.
Connection is vital for mental health.
Yeah.
Connection is a basic, fundamental human need. We've got kids on phones. We've got we've got people who are disabled who can't get out, that are isolated, that are starved for connection like never before. You throw COVID in there, and it is like
worldwide.
Yeah, it is. And, disabilities though know no borders, right? And when we get into that invisible shrapnel, that stuff that we don't see, it 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 requires us to speak up, to go, okay, well, you know what? Nobody else is playing this game. I'm so sure of it. It's just really cool. I don't know how to, uh, yeah. Um, it's a cool thing. It's a movement that's happening where people are realizing that. And the more we come together, I mean, look what we do just here. Half these people, I mean, I, I've been on the, Zooms with people all over the world. Like, and not just once. I mean, like so many different times and all these different.
Like 500, 600, just on one screen.
Right. But that represent like 300 or 400 countries.
Yeah.
And all of these different global initiatives, UN awarded programs such as the Purple Vest Mission, right? That I have such an Staying Calm in a Crisis. The Purple Vest Mission is a UN awarded program to evacuate people with disabilities and our aging during times of emergency. And they've implemented it over in the other side of the world, and we're fortunate that we're not under attack here, but we get to get ahead of the problem. We get to get together but the biggest thing is, how do we cope in a crisis? Well, we got some tools, and so bringing these tools and bringing these different things together and plugging them in and connecting the parts. Do with neuroscience. There's a neuroscience to belonging, and when we are in a position,
just like connecting each other.
Well, I belong to you. When I belong to you, man, the sky is blue.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to write a song about that. When I belong to you, the sky is blue, and and the mountains sing, and and the rivers ring, and I mean, it's true though, and it's
the feelings,
it is a neuroscience. But when we talk about decision making, we talk about AI. Developing AI. It's like we've got to decision making when we do anything from fear or avoidance. We're gonna mess it up every single time because it's a vicious cycle, that fear and avoidance. We avoid the things we fear the things we avoid.
Yeah.
And it's breaking out of that. So I don't know what's next, but I know it's good.
Yeah.
And I know that my daddy spent a lifetime just following the serendipity and mama right by his side. And it created a life for me that where I belong. And and so it's really exciting to be able to think about the opportunity to be able to use my story. I do think, however, with when you going back to your question, I'm sorry, that was a long roundabout. Your question regarding what's been the most difficult battle has been really unearthing the root of what keeps me paralyzed. And so much of that is the narrative, that the self narrative, that the conversations I have with myself. But the money has never been it was never front and center in my family. We never talked about money. We never wanted for anything. My daddy worked really hard, and we went on vacations because he saved up all year to go on those vacations and made them such an experience. I mean, everything was just like, it's like that Maya Angelou quote. People forget what you say, people forget what you did, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. And feeling, like you belong here is where we begin again. But it's something that money was never on my radar, and I just have never been a good money person at all, you know, and I made good money while I was producing television in Los Angeles. And I was married, had awesome benefits. And, you know, I did that for 20 some odd years. And then I up and moved to Austin. And it was like, you know, 50 years old. And I'm going, I can't, I haven't sent a resume out, and, you know, getting a job is like really hard. And I mean, I couldn't get anybody to hire me. And I wasn't really looking that hard at that time, but it was like, you know, I just always, so I became financially dependent on my boyfriend. And so that was what I was so angry about, because I didn't have that independence. I'm just realizing this in that moment. You know, I mean, I wasn't completely dependent on him, but, you know, I paid my rent every single month, and I paid half. And, you know, if I asked him for a little help on some of the utilities or something, he would be like, when are you going to get a job? You know, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, and that just went back, and it reverberated, it echoed what I had already told myself, is I'm not good enough. I'm not, you know, those old tapes still existed, and they could be brought up so easily. Because I kept pushing him down, learning how to, number one, engage my breath, this superpower that I can engage at will, and be able to bring these emotions up to the fore, look at them, examine them, and then be done with them. Not stuffing them back inside. I'm going, see ya, you know, and it's like, you know, and that's where our perspectives turn upward, you know, and eyes above the horizon. And it's yeah, I get kind of lost in that space sometimes, but there's no feeling like it on earth. And to be able to be in charge of who I am, I dream of the opportunity to be able to share this with everyone. As a STEM educator, I'm all about equalizing access. Not as a paraplegic. Again, my mom and daddy, you know, it was access is everything. And being able to share this gift with everyone, every man, woman, and child. And, you know, I feel like sometimes I just wish we could do it for free, you know, and so, you know, I do the intro to skies workshops all the time. You know, I don't do them all the time. I've done a bunch of them. I brought people to the room, but I really feel that,
It's like you're changing someone's like entire life.
yeah,
You know, they come. I know, as a VTP participant myself, I've held a few sessions, and it's like people were seriously, you know, dealing with stress and a lot of issues, and then it's like teaching them like simple breathing techniques, like alternate nostril breathing. It's
yeah,
like, you know, like you literally are in a way like a gift to someone.
yeah,
Feels
yeah,
like that.
just victory. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And you could see it. You can see that transformation when they're going, oh, right.
They're like,
Okay,
"Need this
because
more."
yeah, that just slowed me down a little bit. Yeah. Oh my God. They get a little bit in that pancha. Oh,
Oh yeah.
yes, pancha kosha. When I actually, everybody's like, you meditate? What? You know, because it's like Carlana meditates. She can't stop talking. Well, it's like I've done a 4-day silence course before, y'all. You know, they don't even believe that, but neither do I really. But no, it's I've been very effective with my panchakosha, and it's anyway, the aspect though of making it affordable and accessible is critical. And that's the beauty of being able to be this grassroots movement, is because each one of us becomes this instrument of change. And so I'm really excited about partnering with International Association of Human Values and bringing it to my hometown and honoring my mom and daddy, and they're building on the legacy, but having a sustainable model, a continuum that keeps us here. because that is paramount in keeping us connected, is to keep it here, right? And be able to the it's a peace thing. You know, my daddy's a big global peace ambassador. May I tell you a story?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. Okay. I know that I'm going long. Okay, so so with the aspect of making it affordable and accessible, it's taken me as the time I've ever reached out, they've come back with a yes. And I have done every single one of these programs, you know, paying what I can, if I can, but the majority of them have been people came together to make it happen for me, and just let me be in the room. I'd volunteer, you know, as a facilitator, you know, with John Osborne and Emil Vasiliev, you know, go to the National School Board Association, and with Matt and I mean, it's like,
It's wonderful.
yeah, it's I I'm just excited to be an instrument, and uh to serve, and I'm honored and privileged to be a part of this. Yeah, I'm just super excited. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like it's that flight plan to freedom, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Well, so that's where the aviation and aeronautics and all that kind of stuff comes in, and
Yeah.
yeah, being able to gauge that peripheral you grow eyes in the back of your head. You know, I'm stronger where I break. My ability to adapt is my superpower. And you know, the name of my book, the name of my book is Never Give In, Never Give Up. But when we were writing it, when John and I were writing it, John Dorenzo is my co-author, would have never happened. He delivered the baby. He extracted it. You know, he captured my voice like you're doing right now, giving me a partner to be able to talk about this stuff, because that's where we come together, right? But anyway, John, we named the book, or I don't know if I named it or what. I know I named it. I think he voted, yeah, let's do this, but the editors didn't, publisher wanted to change it, but it was called Sitting with Imperfection, because sitting with imperfection is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But there's a tricky magic to Sky, in as much as it helps you grow in your confidence, and you have to do the things that are uncomfortable. Like she was saying yesterday, he's like, just do it, just do it anyway. He was talking about, you know, oh God, there's just so much. But he was just talking about, well, just you have to do it, even though you don't go do the things you don't want to do. You have to do them, you know, and it's that easy, you know, and asking for help along the way has been vital for my personal growth and evolution, and it still is. And talking about it out loud is healing for me, because I'm able to not attach myself to the financial strain that I feel. All of, you know, and I'm beginning to be able to talk about it without being shameful, and on the contrary, being hopeful. And when I look at the magic that happens when we get out of our own way and we practice the faith, and it's providing an answer for my mom and daddy that is the same thing as honoring them with this living legacy in our traveling socials, which is taking this experience, the room to breathe experience, the connection, the community that comes with this community, the belongingness, the shared humanity. It's a game changer. It's a complete, it overcomes every barrier, and it's a universal endeavor. And I'm excited because my disability gets to be a conduit. It gets to be a catalyst in helping us realize that we're all paralyzed, you know? It's the stuff you don't see that keeps us there. And this tool is helps us shed doubt and soar.
Definitely.
As a sonic warrior.
Yeah.
I've become the sonic warrior.
Yeah.
My buddy Captain Kevin Smith. Yep. Came along and told me. I met him in a sky in a leadership
Oh, really?
thing online.
Wow.
And he was the commander of the first deployed Top Gun unit.
Wow.
Sonic Warrior. He has a book called The Sonic Warrior.
Wow.
Yeah, and he came along and believed in me and told me, said, your ability to adapt is your superpower. Those are his words, not mine. And I've just come to use them. I've come to tell other people when I see them, struggling. I'm like, your ability to adapt is your superpower, because it was such a momentous thing.
Yeah.
And so it's yeah, it's just fun to be able to see how we're changing the world together.
Yeah, definitely. And especially, drawing from all your experiences, what pearls of wisdom would you want to impart to individuals, listening to us on this podcast who maybe, having a path in service or maybe dealing with similar
Well,
struggles?
service is like, where we are centered, we're heart centered, right?
Yeah.
Connecting these two things is where it's at. We've got programs like, well, there's so many different programs, but Art of Living Part 1 is where we begin, right? Learning how to breathe is head and heart. Sissy and Dave, whichever, it's interchangeable, because they both got beautiful minds and beautiful hearts. And, they change off because they are the perfect union. My mom and daddy, 64 years. And it's like that there's a neurophysiological response that happens when we connect these two things and we settle in, and everything becomes all right. And we don't see anybody as other than, we don't see ourselves as other than. We are all one world. And it is, it's a beautiful place to be, and people want to know what you're drinking. People want to know what's that you got going on, because they feel it, and it just it's working. So yeah, my advice would be just come on, let's do this, and let's music is such a again, music is the universal language, and love is the key. And these shared experiences, storytelling is the oldest form of neuroscience we have. So connecting our stories, and let's begin there. And it's really cool. So come join the fun. It's like, what do you say? Stay tuned. More to come.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for listening today, and hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.